Hi, everybody. Welcome to the web show of Todd. Continuing on the majestic series of readings from my book entitled Don't Act 101 Reasons Why You Shouldn't. There's the cover right there. We're on Don't Act reason number 8. That reason would be you will have to live in Los Angeles. The United States of America is a comparatively young political territory. When considering how long most of the world's other countries have been around, the U.S. could be thought of as a teenager among nations. And if you're willing to work with that analogy, then Los Angeles is an unwanted pregnancy. I can't remember which jazz musician it was, but I remember seeing one quoted in a magazine as saying, Los Angeles is the place where all maligned people come to misunderstand each other. Now, I'm not saying that you are the same idiot that I am, but if you're buying what film and television is selling the city as being, then you are just as grossly mistaken as I was. Yes, there are palm trees lining some of the streets, and at certain times of the year, if you are in the right well-to-do beach areas, you might catch a glimpse of some nice-looking people in bathing suits, but that is not all there is to the place. In fact, there are very little of these elements. What you see mostly are cars, concrete, and pollution, and attractive people in bathing suits are not driving the cars either. The people driving the cars are mostly scowling malcontents disappointed with how their dreams of Los Angeles turned out because instead of sitting beneath palm trees with bikini models, they are spending their days in hot-ass cars, barely crawling down the 405, the most fantastic example of just how ill-equipped for handling the awesome population of commuters the LA freeway system really is. And I don't know what it is, perhaps a combination of the heat and self-obsession, but the drivers of LA are easily the worst I've ever seen, and I grew up in Boston. Every day I take to the roads and freeways of LA, and every day I put my life on the line. Terror comes in the forms of people yammering on cell phones, not paying attention to where they are turning. And no, the stupid hands-free law did nothing to change this. Dunderheads with small things in sports cars careening at 50 above the speed limit while weaving in and out of other vehicles as if somehow they have somewhere really important to go, when I know for a fact that there isn't a single important place in the entire town. And let's not forget the bus drivers who couldn't give a poop less if they run over any commuter, pedestrian, or stroller with a baby that gets in their way. I exaggerate nothing. Just yesterday, I saw a woman on a cell phone swerving across 4 lanes on the 10 freeway, completely unaware that she almost killed me and my family in the process. Make no mistake, this is all Los Angeles really is. A mess of congested freeways that means spending 2 hours in your car every time you want to go somewhere that should only be 15 minutes away. To call it a city is really a misnomer. Granted, I drove out to Los Angeles blinded by my adolescent dreams, and I should have done a little more research to prepare myself mentally for where I was going, but when I got out here with my friend and roommate and his Volkswagen Rabbit, we drove right past downtown Los Angeles and through the better part of the city without realizing we had arrived. We got to the ocean and were terribly confused about how we missed the city. We had both spent a lot of years in Manhattan, and that place is a city. We had assumed that LA would have the same jungle of tall buildings and bright lights, but it doesn't, because it isn't. There is no city. Los Angeles is just a big, sprawling suburb of nothing. But then there are the great lovers of LA, and they'll tell you what all the wonderful elements of the non-city. I count many of the City of Angels promoters as friends, but I think they are completely delusional, which I think says a tremendous amount about my character, given that I am willing to give so much of my time to the mentally deranged. These brainwashed morons will have you believe that Los Angeles is the perfect place to live since everything is right at your fingertips, the best of all worlds just nearby. They are referring to the nearby mountain of Big Bear, the plethora of beaches and wine country that surround the city. This, I admit, sounds very nice until the weekend comes and you realize the only way to get to these places is to drive, and you've spent your entire week doing nothing but driving, and the last thing you want is the busman's holiday of having to drive somewhere for a little R and R. And the lovers of LA are always quick to point out that all of these convenient destinations are all within 40 minutes of the city, which is absolutely true. If you have a helicopter. If you don't have a helicopter, then, especially with weekend traffic, getting to the mountain takes several hours. Going to wine country takes half a day, and heading to the beach, which is actually in the city, will take at least an hour, if not two. And just for the record, the locals up at Big Bear hate everyone who comes from Los Angeles, referring to the weekenders as flatlanders, and make clear their feeling on t-shirts and baseball caps that say such things as "save a squirrel, run over a flatlander." The beaches are disgusting, the water polluted with chemicals and sewage from an overpopulated town, and the sand is filled with cigarette butts because no one is allowed to smoke indoors anymore. And wine country features the very same drivers that spent the work week trying to kill you on the freeways, only now they're drunk. Then there's the lack of aesthetic beauty in LA. Some enjoy the oddly colored sunsets of Los Angeles. I think it looks like the apocalypse. And it gives me a headache because smog is a combination of dirt, exhaust, and fog, and when it is floating around in the air, that is what I breathe. According to several allergists, I'm not an allergic person, but apparently you don't have to be allergic to poison to be affected by it. Why couldn't Hollywood have been in the Rocky Mountains, I ask you? Everyone goes up there every year for the Sundance Film Festival anyway, and it's so nice and clean. Let's not forget the parking situation either. There's almost none of it, and when you do find a space, you have to be doggone careful to read all the signs, because if you don't, you'll most assuredly get a ticket. Some signposts will have 6 or 7 different little signs on them saying when it is okay to park. One will say not to park on Tuesday morning because of street sweeping, another will say there is no parking after 6, another will say the time limit is 1 hour, and another will say the limit is 2 hours on Sundays, blah, 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 blah. You need a lawyer to decipher it all for you. And even if you are completely anal about reading all the signs and making sure you're in the clear, you'll still wind up getting tickets. I once received a ticket for parking in my driveway. I was in my driveway. When I called to ask what specific parking violation I committed, I was told, blocking a driveway. But whatever, some people like clogged freeways, parking tickets, creepy sunsets, and apparent lack of seasons. So if it all sounds nice to you, come on along. But I personally miss the spring and the autumn and the visuals that come with the time passing in New England. I don't like hot and sunny every day. I'm not a gecko. I'm a man. I'm not a gecko. Nor have I played one on television. Oh man, was the camera there the whole time? Forget it. I am not doing that again.